Hello, friends. I'm starting a new series on this channel called The Virtual Coffee Chat, and we're going to be talking about marketing, career tips, remote working, how to run a business. And my first guest is Daniela, who's an SEO consultant. She has a boutique SEO agency in Toronto. In this episode, we're going to be talking about Daniela's background, why she chose SEO as her specialty within marketing, how she stays up to date about the SEO trends and her industry in general, and also we're going to be talking about how SEO trends are being affected in this new pandemic situation that we're all going through. So if that's interesting, continue watching, and please don't forget to subscribe, like, engage, comment, whatever, and I will see you next time, guys.
Awesome. Good morning. How are you?
Good, and you?
I'm good. Thank you. First time actually hosting a Zoom. So I'm not new to the platform, but I've been trying to figure out where's the recording, where can I pause it if I need to, and all of that. But it's very intuitive. It's very easy.
Have you been doing like virtual coffee chats?
No, actually, I used to do these in one of my previous agencies. We just used to do this with my colleagues like on a regular basis. But,
Mhm.
like, last week when I reached out to you, all of a sudden it came like, the idea came to me, why am I not doing this for you? To like, why am I not reaching out to people in my industry and talking to them, like, so that, we can also share that information with other people, and
Yeah,
like, I am doing this outreach.
yeah,
Let me connect with a couple of my colleagues, and, I just wanted it to be a casual but also informative chat for others who are interested, and thanks for joining me.
no,
You'll
thank
actually
you
be the
for
first
having me.
guest.
I'm the OG.
Welcome. Yes,
No,
exactly.
I
How are
wanted
you
to.
doing?
I'm.
How has this, new pandemic situation treated you?
Um. I'm actually like a. Well, I just launched the business. So I was in a transition from freelancer
Yeah,
to business. So it's actually really good timing because in March and February, I was so busy with client work that I didn't have the time to like work on a new
yeah.
website, set up processes and stuff like that. So it was for me, it was kind of a, I think it's a blessing in disguise. We'll see.
Yeah,
So
you probably had more time to focus on the back end stuff, like to prepare for your launch, and
exactly. But just like
that's awesome.
build processes and like I wanted to, as a freelancer, I don't know if have you freelanced before?
Yes, I did for brief period of my life, and then it kind of evolved into like a contract based thing, and then a full time version. So, but I did.
Yeah, my struggle as a freelancer was just kind of like improvising and not having set prices was one thing,
True.
and a process in place. Whereas if you work in a company, there are like the structure. Okay, this is how we do things.
Yeah,
This is steps.
yeah. You
So I
established processes.
I needed to do the same thing for myself, and so this downtime has been a good time to like like sit down, think about it, and do.
Perfect. Yeah.
Um, and and so now I have to like go and pitch. Well, I've already have some inquiries, so we'll see, what it's like to pitch and negotiate now with the pandemic and people like what concerns do people have now that are different from
Yeah.
before?
True. Yeah. I'm like currently I'm not actively working in the industry, but I'm still I'm really interested in how it's going to affect our industry and how it's going to affect the pains and goals of companies. So I've been trying to observe myself and read about like how it's you know going to change the demand, and how it's going to change how we do business,
Yeah,
and all of that. So, which is also what I want to talk to you about today as well. I think it's a very interesting topic, especially for marketers. Like everything is pretty much shifting for us. Like
yeah.
how we approach business, how we build systems, how we speak to our
Mhm.
prospects. Everything kind of changes. Well, okay, we're jumping a little bit too far
Sorry.
away, but um thanks for that, for sharing that, and congrats on the launch of your business. I'm super happy for you. It's a huge step, and I hope everything goes extremely well in the way you plan for it.
Me too.
With that said, like maybe I can ask you to introduce yourself a little bit, and we can then like move on with other stuff that I really want to ask you.
Yeah, sure. So my name is Daniela, and then I'm an SEO consultant. I have an agency called Findable. It's here based in Toronto. And yeah, and I specialize in small business SEO. So the reason I point that out and the reason that it's different is that small businesses don't have the luxury of having a whole team of content writers or a full-time SEO manager. And so it's really important that they do strategy
Yeah,
very early on, and that they think a lot about what is really going to move the needle, what do they need to focus on, and make more calculated decisions. So yeah, that's what I do. I have.
awesome. I love that you actually have a specific niche within your like services or portfolio. It's really important to kind of differentiate yourself in the game, because there are a lot of SEO agencies or marketing agencies out there.
Yeah.
I always found it a little bit tough to uh, you know make yourself known in the industry in a way, because there are like very big players as well. And
Mhm.
yeah, so like niching down is very very key in my opinion, and that's
Mhm.
why I wanted to specifically talk to you about like SEO, how you chose to specialize in SEO, like what attracted you to SEO, um and yeah, basically like what how and why you decided to move towards SEO in the first place. Because
Mhm.
and I want to ask this, by the way, because like just to give you a context, because the audience I have, they are regularly like they're looking to figure out what it is that they need to specialize in, or
Mhm.
if they should specialize in any area of marketing at all. So I yeah, that's one of the things that I wanted to focus on, like how you chose some SEO in particular, and do you like your decision?
Of course. Of course, I absolutely love it. Um, I guess it goes back to how I started in digital marketing. So I've always been obsessed with the internet. I grew up on the internet as a millennial, and so the like our home computer was a really important part of my life. And I think at the age of 12, I was already learning how to code websites. They were really bad websites, but I was
But
learning how to
that's
use them.
great.
Yeah, but I didn't know anyone that had a job in internet marketing. I don't know if that was even a career path when I was a kid.
True.
Like, and if some,
Not
and
that I can remember of.
I don't think so. Like, I didn't think that was something you can make money or that you could have a professional career from. And I think anyone that said that they made money on the internet, they made internet money, was seen as being like really weird, sleazy, maybe like
Yeah,
they're scamming people.
yeah.
And so it wasn't until I was in university and I started a blog that I learned about digital marketing, and I learned that wow, people make money and like full-time incomes off their
Yeah.
blogs, and there are companies that use this as a strategy, and it's a whole industry. And so that's how I learned about SEO and social media, affiliate marketing, um, email marketing, like really everything under the sun, a little bit of everything
Mm,
under the sun when it comes to digital marketing. And so that um, I used that experience to get me a job in an agency, and it was specifically a social media agency. So I did, or like initially just organic social media
mhm,
posts and social media ads. Um, and I really liked when I was exposed to the ads, I really liked the technical and the analytical side of it.
mhm.
I really, really enjoyed it. It was also higher paying. Like
Yeah.
ads and SEO are usually the higher paying areas of digital marketing. Um, so that was also quite attractive. um,
True.
but I was really struggling to get out of social media and more into SEO. Like I had been doing it with my blog, but I hadn't been doing it professionally. And it was really challenging. I found that my managers constantly wanted me to do social media specifically because of my languages. I was living in Europe at the time. And so languages are really, really
True.
beneficial, and they're like put to a lot more use than here in Canada. Um, But eventually I pushed, and I every time I had to like present a social media report, I would always like make 50% of it like all about the analytics. And I would just try to put the connection between like, okay, this is how many people, are engaging with us on Instagram, but of those people, how many are actually going to the website? So like try to
Yeah.
show people that, look, I can do this. And so little by little, I got more projects related to SEO, and yeah, I just
Awesome.
liked it. I kept doing it. I kept learning about it. And here,
I'm so glad that you mentioned about how you got into the field. Like you actually started by having your own blog,
yeah.
and then you leveraged that experience into getting a job at an agency. And that's also one of the things that I highly emphasize when I talk to people as well. Like people are very curious about like how do you get a job before you even have any experience, and that's
Mhm.
the dilemma that every new graduate actually has. Um, but and I always say that if you have a side hustle, if you work on your personal brand, if you have a project, whether it is successful or not, it doesn't really matter, because then you just gain experience by simply doing that, and then you can really leverage it to go ahead and talk to people about the goods and bads that you've learned from that experience. And it's also a step that, like, it's your initiative. So
Mhm.
I think that is also appreciated when you take that step and differentiate yourself by doing something.
Yeah, and I think you learn a lot more. And there's so many
I
options.
agree.
I think also now is an interesting time. It must be really, I imagine your audience must be really struggling to find internships this summer, because this is like
Yeah.
when people are
And
graduating.
I don't know we ever talked about it, but I was actually teaching at George Brown too. So I
Yeah.
had a class that, so after this semester, they were actually looking for co-ops.
Hmm.
And all of a sudden, as soon as they kind of finished this semester, the pandemic started and everything was just upside down for them, and it was a huge challenge to find internships. Obviously, some of the companies did shift into remote working,
Hmm.
but with all the cuts on the team members and the budgets and all of that, I'm not sure if all were able to actually find internships or decent internships, let's say.
But the
um
advantage of being in digital marketing is that it's so easy to start your own side hustle or
yeah.
passion project. Like it could be a blog, it could be a podcast, it could be just an Instagram
Yeah,
channel if you
I
want to.
agree. I agree. Yeah.
Like,
And that's actually one of the latest videos that I created, because I know that it's a topic that is like the priority for so many people at the moment.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Perfect. Thanks for sharing that, like, and thanks for, bringing that topic up. I think it's important for a lot of people. So, how would you describe SEO to someone who is totally new to the field?
Yeah. So SEO stands for search engine optimization. So a search engine could be Google, Bing, Yahoo, Pinterest, anything where you are searching for something. It has a database of information. And so when we talk about it, SEO for websites, it's about making changes to your website so that it appears on search engines when people are looking for something like you, either they're explicitly looking for you or something that you offer. So for example, if you're an intern or if you're a student and instead of doing an internship you want to start a blog, just because you make a website doesn't mean that tons of people are
People
gonna
are gonna
go.
see it.
You have to understand Google's algorithm and what it ranks so that you can appear on its search engine results pages. So, so yeah, that's
Perfect.
yeah.
That's a great description. So what do you think are some of the key SEO trends that we're seeing this year or these times? And I know everything is changing at the moment, but still, like for 2020, maybe we can talk about the whole year. Like, what are some key trends that you see for SEO?
Mhm. So before COVID, I would say the key trend was voice search and just more personalized searches. So things like Google Discover is a feature of Google, and and structured data. Like I could go on about some things that are becoming increasingly more important, but now with COVID, that really changes, and no one really knows what the trends are. And everyone is still figuring it out. Google has a lot of great resources and being able to adapt really fast. And I think it's important for us small businesses or people in general that are online to do the same. So to be very agile, to not plan too far ahead.
Yeah.
And I think and I'd love to talk to you about this, is I think a common conversation, not just in SEO, but in the digital marketing world, is what's the new normal going to be? How can we prepare ourselves for after quarantine? Instead of thinking, oh, when things go back to normal, instead
Yeah.
think about
The new
how are
normal.
our habits going to change after this? And I think e-commerce right now is huge, right? Everyone is going online.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to see if after all of this, people will still care about e-commerce. They'll see that, wow, it's so easy to shop and sell online.
Yeah.
And I wonder if people will keep it up. And so with that, how that looks in SEO is, e-commerce SEO and local SEO is going to become more important. And that's what more businesses are going to look for.
True. Yeah. I agree. Thanks for that. And yeah, I mean, COVID is definitely having so many changes on everything and some we can predict for right now, but some we can't really predict for, how things are going to look in a couple of months. But the consumer habits, I think we would really need to focus on that to analyze how it's going to reflect to SEO or just digital marketing in general, or, the marketing tactics that we should be applying. So on. But one of the main things that I've observed so far about that is like the context is changing. The context of how we search things, and the context that businesses need to apply to their content is changing, I think.
So what do you mean, like how we search things is different?
Like, for example, if we were, and this is kind of becoming like a cliche example these days, but like how we search for gym memberships or gym, like how to do workouts, or how to lose weight or stuff like that. Like the context of how we search for it is changing. So the context of how the businesses should adjust their content should change as well. And I've already read a couple of really good case studies on this, of how some gyms, like traditional gyms which had spaces, like physical spaces, are now moving to online trainings, or they're renting out gym equipment, and all of a sudden they're kind of adjusted the whole like social media strategy or the content strategy to match what people are looking for, because people are now not looking for trainings in a physical space, but they're looking for training, like how they can lose the weight or how they can train within their houses. So all of a sudden they have to change how they write their content, and how they launch social media posts and campaigns and whatnot. So that is one of the big things. And I also read another example which stroked my attention, is like it was for an e-commerce, it was for a retail brand that sold outdoor clothing for activities, outdoor activities. And how they need to change it is that it's no longer a group activity, for example, and it needs to be like an individual, and the images need to change, and there's just so many elements to think about and to change. But these are just two examples that I saw, and I think these are definitely going to have effect on SEO, and how because it's affecting how we search these things.
For sure. Like I was reading just a report from Google the other day that's saying Google Maps, or like no one's using Google Maps, but everyone's using, I think it's Google Classroom and Google Meets. And so, and then also just like you said, the type of content is changing dramatically because people's businesses have to change and business models. So, but I think it's exciting. And I think this is the question that as marketers, we have to ask ourselves is, what things do we need to change for like right now? And what of those, out of all those things, what is going to last? What's going to be a little bit more permanent? What are things that we should be, right? Because you still have to plan. There are still some things that you want to plan long term, right? And so where are you going to invest your money and your efforts? And that's an interesting conversation. But
Yeah, and with a lot of
yeah. But I think only time will tell. I think for now it's like best not to plan more than 1 month out.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, well, that's a long conversation. That could just be a conversation on its own. Okay, another thing that I wanted to ask you is, and I think these are going to be my final two questions, is how do you keep yourself up to date in your industry? Like, what are some sources that you follow, and what are some sources that you would recommend to someone who is interested in learning more about SEO or marketing in general as well?
Mhm. If you've never really heard about SEO and you just want some like really, beginner friendly information, I really recommend Backlinko by Brian Dean. It's a blog and he explains things really well and very visually. So that's a good place to
He
start.
also has a YouTube channel, right? Do you?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. He posts maybe like once a month, but it's like really, really, really good stuff and really long. It's like they're like ebooks. Um, Other than that, Search Engine Land and Search Engine People are good sources. Google Webmasters, I mean,
Anything by Google?
they also, think with Google Webmasters, it also has some really good podcasts. Spark Toro is also really good, and Reddit is actually surprisingly really interesting. The conversations, like when there are really new things that like this type of thing, right? That what we were just talking about, COVID or a new algorithm change. It's the forums are really interesting to get people's different opinions. So yeah, that's where I get my information. Also, networking is really fundamental to me. So it's always really important for me to talk to other people that are working in other areas of SEO, or they are actively working on like a specific project and that they see different results, or they're touching a different part of SEO than I am on a daily basis. And so just talking to them and seeing what works for them, what they're trying, what patterns they've seen, because no one really, Google puts out a lot of information about the algorithm, but at the end of the day, they're not telling you everything. And so sometimes it's,
I think it's always more powerful to hear from people's experiences. It teaches you a lot. Like you can read all you want still, but it's different when you hear it from someone who has actually tested that and seen some results, whether good or bad, it doesn't matter.
yeah, you have to be careful because what works for them might not work for you and vice versa. But it's good to at least hear that perspective, another perspective. So yeah, networking is really important, whether that's at in-person events, which is like hard now, or Facebook groups. There are a lot of Facebook groups that have um, discussions and online like workshops and webinars that are really, really informative. I find that the SEO industry um, is really, really collaborative. Like everyone is really open to sharing information. It's not, people are like, no, like, oh, no, people are generally are really, really friendly and open to sharing information, because at the end of the day, like everyone can benefit, right? If I share something I know, you share something you know, and we both benefit and we both learn from it.
Absolutely. Perfect. So all online sources. Do you have any offline sources that you follow, or any maybe events? Like I know that the event industry is like, we can even say that it's almost dead, but still, like, were there any events that you attended or suggest for SEO?
Yeah, books, I can't think of any. I think by the time a book comes out, like half of it is going to be irrelevant because it's changing
I
so
agree.
much.
I have a problem with this question as well. Like, I don't really get my information about marketing from books either, because it's just ever changing.
Yeah. You could, I mean, there are books about um, like consumer behavior and understanding the like how we buy and how we make decisions that are, I think, really interesting. So there's a really good book called Influence by I'm working on myself. Robert Cialdini, I think is his name. And that one is a really, really good book. You'll really understand what makes us say yes. So, but that's like marketing. That's a very like top level
Yeah.
understanding of marketing. Not, I wonder. I'd have to give it some thought, but I'm sure there are some aspects of it that could be applied to SEO or content marketing. Um, and events. So Brighton SEO, it has a huge conference in London every year. And then I'm sure like if you just search, you search for
I'm sure all those events are nowadays moving to virtual or webinars or
yeah.
stuff like that. But
There's a group called Women in Tech SEO, and they started off as a Facebook group, and they've been doing online webinars, and I think they have conferences in London, so that's one. There's an international SEO conference that's everywhere. I went to the one in Barcelona last year, but I'm sure they have one in North America, and that's also really interesting. Um, there are times, and there are tech conferences. So Collision here in Toronto, Web Summit in Europe, and they always have like SEO and content marketing is always a part of that.
true. Perfect. Thank you so much. Oh, I
Thank you.
enjoyed this so much. I actually have much more questions, but I know we're limited with time, and I want to be respectful of your day and schedule as well.
Well, thank you so much. I really enjoyed the opportunity to like talk about it. I hope I did okay.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Thanks for joining me. And yeah, as I said, like there are so many other questions that I would love to ask you and just chat about. So maybe in the future we'll have another session. Who knows?
Yeah. Well,
And
anytime if you just want to have like a virtual coffee chat until all of this
yeah,
changes, and then we can have an in-person coffee chat.
absolutely. Yeah, and I look forward to seeing you in person too, but I don't know when that is going to happen.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks again, and
Thank you.
have an amazing day. Thanks for joining me.
Have a good one. Ciao.
Bye.